Hey guys, how's it going? I'm just gonna be I'm basically gonna be doing an instructional video on how to fly the fucking Littlebird using just the instruments and yeah. So let me do that. Now, first let me just go over that or mention that I have my full HUD removed, except for like the squad shit in the bottom left. There is, like, basically though, the HUD is gone. I got rid of the fuel, doesn't show my fuel or airspeed, altitude, vehicle damage, and I got rid of the radar in the top center also. So I have no radar and I have no HUD indication, like magical HUD indication of, my shit. So, but in ArmA 3, the instruments, the helicopters come with instruments that actually work, for the most part anyway, and they basically tell you the airspeed, main rotor RPMs, or collective, and your artificial and horizon, and your compass, instantaneous vertical speed, and of course altitude. The rest of this shit doesn't really work, except for the fuel, and I think on the bottom left, that is your your torque, but I don't know exactly how to use that, so I'm not going to go over and like trying to do instructions on that because I'm still learning that. But to go over what these instruments are, these top 6 here on the left are basically the ones that you want to pay attention to the most. The ones over here you don't really care about too much. You got fuel, that's about it. So top left here, that's your airspeed. The outside ring of green, that is not measuring your speed in knots, and then the smaller ring on the inside of green is your airspeed in kilometers an hour. Next to that, to the right, in the center, is the blue and brown thingy with the red crosshair looking thing. That is your artificial horizon. That tells you how leveled off you are, and yeah, pretty much that's mainly what it's used for. It also basically tells you where the horizon is, and where you are in comparison, if that makes sense. And then to the right of that is the altimeter. This tells you how high you are above sea level or ground level. And yeah, I say sea level or ground level because it's basically for ground level, but if you're flying over an ocean, it considers the sea level as ground, I guess. So yeah, if that makes sense. And then the bottom left here, we got the main rotor RPM. This tells you how powerful your main rotor is spinning. How many times it's spinning per minute or whatever. I believe that's how it's measured. And yeah, that's basically your main collective. So collective is extremely important with flying helicopters, not just the Littlebird, but all helicopters in general. But yeah, so basically collective is extremely important when it comes to taking off, landing, and just maintaining speed and performing maneuvers, really. So I'll go over that in a minute, though. Below the artificial horizon, we have in the bottom center, basically, the yellow arrow. That is your compass, or your radio compass bearing, I think it's called. And that basically is pretty easy to figure out. It's your fucking compass. It tells you which way is north, west, east, and even has little indentations in between to give you more of a precise bearing or whatever. It's not as precise as the handheld compass. The indentations in this are much more accurate. I think you could actually. I think they got rid of using your compass in the helicopter. Yeah, I'm trying to use my compass right now and I can't pull it out. So you're literally forced to use these 2 compasses. You got one right there, which is with the yellow arrow, and then you got this kind of shitty one over here, mounted in the top center of the cockpit. There's also like this little temperature thing, but I'm almost 100% sure that that is not simulated accurately and is useless. And last, but definitely not least, is the... actually, I just realized, there's a torque instrument right there, next to the fuel. So what the fuck is the instrument on the bottom left? Anyway, next to the radio compass bearing instrument is the instantaneous vertical speed. That tells you if you're increasing or if you're gaining altitude quickly, or if you're losing altitude quickly. It basically tells you how fast you're doing that too. So if I just tap my Q key, instantaneous vertical speed's not going to change at all because I'm sitting still. But my engines and my main rotor are now geared on. So you can see that the main rotor RPM is spinning around. It's getting higher and higher, and stops at about 95. Nothing else seems to have changed though. The torque instrument isn't changing either. Let's see if it changes while I move, because I'm actually curious. So I'm just tapping the Q key. I'm not holding it down. Only tap your collective increase key. I'm also using mouse and keyboard, by the way, so joystick is definitely better, but I haven't gotten used to it yet. Torque doesn't seem to really work, though it looks like the instrument on the bottom left is working, the RPM thingy. Bottom right, my bad. Anyway, let me pick up this first group of guys, and then I'll continue going over the instruments and stuff like that. Actually, I guess now is a good time to go over how to land. So, you want to land at a speed, any speed lower than 45 kilometers an hour. Preferably, 20 or less, but to do that, you want to nose up to lose speed, or stay leveled off. You don't want to nose up too much, because then you might nose up too much to the point where you just completely lose altitude and fuck yourself up, crash and die. Or you'll make yourself, lose control trying to restabilize yourself in the air. So now I'm waiting for all these slow fucks to get into the helicopter. So I guess in the meantime, I might as well say that I'm going to be paying attention to the main instruments I'm going to be paying attention to the most. I'll do it in order too. Basically, the artificial horizon is probably the most important. Because, even in foggy weather or bad, just bad weather in general, that is definitely a huge fucking help. Also, airspeed indicator is also very important. Knowing your airspeed and your altitude when you're approaching a landing zone is extremely, extremely fucking important. But so is collective and instantaneous vertical speed kind of plays in there too. But yeah, anyway, I'll go over that as I go on. So like I said, I'm just tapping the collective increase key. Or if you have a throttle, joystick with a throttle on it, just put up a little bit, not too much, just a little bit, and then just like incrementally push. Don't go full fucking, collective, otherwise you'll just, it's better to keep your collective in the middle than just full all the way, all the way up, because then you could adjust to situations more easily, I would say. So you kind of give you an idea of how to use these instruments right here, like how I'm using it. I'll look at my airspeed indicator, and you'll see that I'm going about 100, actually, yeah, about 100 kilometers an hour, or 100 knots, something like that. And for altitude, I'm about, less than 20, looks like I'm less than 20 meters above the ground. I want to change that. I could be wrong. I should be about a little bit over 20, I think. Probably about 25 almost. 23. Airspeed, if you're moving at an airspeed at 110 or higher, the AI pretty much can't really hit you with their bullets, or they have a much less likely chance of hitting you if you're moving 110 kilometers an hour or more. But, obviously you can't land or perform extreme maneuvers at that speed, but yeah. In this case, I'm just gonna come in nice and low so I don't have to worry about that shit. Notice that I'm leveling myself off. I'm keeping my eye on the artificial horizon while also the LZ, like keeping in mind where it is. Tap the increase collective key sometimes when you overshoot your fucking LZ a little bit. Not a perfect landing, but whatever. I don't have time for me crashing and shit. A very bad landing, but I can't really... My brain can't demonstrate and explain at the same time. Not seamlessly, anyway. So that's everybody. Got the notification. So I'm just gonna pull up and yeah, go out. And I'm gonna speed up time to make this go by faster, because I don't want to waste everybody's fucking time. I'm using some new Track IR mod made by Faint called Track IR Head Range mod, I think it's called. I'll put it in the description. If you use Track IR, it is fucking awesome, because I could do stuff like this. You know, I don't know, I could clear my nose, or I could fucking do cool shit like this. If you ever see my camera like bug out, it's because my Track IR is losing view of the IED lights or whatever. You know what? If you use your own Track IR, you know what I mean. I'm still configuring it. Slow time back down to normal. So notice that I'm going slow. This is basically going to be a nice smooth landing. It's not going to be perfectly accurate. I don't know why I'm going so fast. You see, as I was holding down my decrease collective key, but then right before I land, for about 2 or 3 seconds before I land, I tap the increase collective key a little bit. Basically, you kind of just like adjust the collective enough so you just, you know, very softly touch the ground. You just want to just barely land, basically. This is also so that you can quickly increase collective and you'll take off right away. So you see, as soon as this last guy gets in, I'm going to take off immediately. Yeah, see that shit. And you could tell, if you pay attention to the collective, your main rotor or whatever fucking instrument, that's the easier way to determine if you have enough collective to take off immediately and stuff like that. There's other little ways too, because I don't want to just re-explain what has been explained many times already in ArmA 3 flight videos or whatever. I might even link those in the description just so that it's explained much better, but so I'm just approaching the LZ, and you don't really want to fly low. I mean, you could basically, there's a lot of dangerous shit when you fly low, obviously. You know, you got, aside from the obvious shit like buildings and trees, power lines are actually pretty difficult to spot sometimes, and you don't really want to take that chance unless you're like being locked on or some shit. And a new little technique I've been trying to utilize lately is that if you try to fly over a hill and like you want to stay low, it takes a couple seconds to get back to being low. But this new technique I've been trying to use is like you tilt sideways and then kind of like force yourself to stay low. That's a good way to stay low. And I know that fighter pilots do something like that where they flip upside down and will pull up, and then when they flip again and then pull back up again. Like, it's hard to explain, but basically you want to maintain flying low like that. Kind of. There's a very rough example, but yeah. I'm just destroying my landings today. But hopefully you guys get the idea. Maybe you guys are 10 times better than me anyway. Or will become so. I'm extremely rusty. I haven't played this game in like a week, so I'll just make that excuse. Oh yeah, I'm also using this kind of decent-ish sound mod called Speed of Sound. Needs a lot of work, but, you know, whatever. I kind of like it. It's different. But it needs work. Anyway. One more group I'm going to be transporting. I'm recording at 50 FPS, so rather than 30 FPS, so hopefully the video comes out good. If it comes out pixelated and shitty, then probably just try to use a different program using Fraps, which kind of sucks, but it's not too bad. Anyway, let's get back on topic. So yeah, another thing that is really important, not really important, but you know, eventually you'll have to use this instrument if you're doing long flight missions or whatever. There is a fuel instrument, which you can see I have apparently about 70% fucking fuel. Could be wrong. You can see that my fuel instrument says I got about 70% fuel. It's weird. I guess they increase the amount of fuel this thing eats up, which is good. And actually, you know what? Before I continue, I'm gonna go over a couple things in this video. Basically, I'm gonna go over you know, auto rotating and very basic way to do it, and how to refuel. And I just noticed that there's a gas station right here, so I believe that if I land here, I used to be able to do this in the beta at least. It's been a while since I tried this, so maybe they got rid of it, but if you landed on top of a gas station, you'd actually refuel your fucking helicopter. No scripts used there at all. Oh yeah, look at that. My fuel went up. Full tank. That's awesome. So yeah, if you don't know how to refuel helicopters, there you go. Or any vehicle in general. It could be tanks, hunters, or whatever. Just gotta land on top of them, or just pull up next to the gas thing, whatever. Very, very useful for missions that, you know, don't have a refueling script or some shit. I'm going to transport one more group, and then I am going to... Actually, you know what? Fuck that shit. I'm gonna go over... I just want to try out one thing real quick. I want to see how torque is used, because I don't... It seems like no matter what I do, torque is staying the same. What if I use my rudders? So what if I take out my tail rotor? My torque should be fucked up. Yeah, I guess the torque instrument does not work. Alright. Prepare myself. I named this helicopter H1, by the way. If you're practicing flying, this is a really good way to practice. Basically, create an empty helicopter, and then create a pilot. Or you don't have to you don't have to be a empty helicopter. Just make a fucking Littlebird or whatever. Name the Littlebird object H1 or whatever, and then, you know, basically this is the command you use to repair it. So H1 is the name of the object. Set damage is the command to set the damage, and then of course 0 means set the damage to 0%, and then 1 would be 100%. So yeah, anyway, I'm gonna do a nice little basic explanation on how to, I guess, instructional thing on how to do auto rotating. There's definitely better videos for this, but if you've already watched this fucking far, you know, why not show how to do it. Basically, auto rotating is basically when you lose your main rotor, or not main rotor, my bad. When your engine gets taken out. Let's say you get an RPG to the fucking straight to the engine. Your engine goes out, but your main rotor and tail rotor still exist somehow. You can still survive. Basically, what normally happens is people will just panic and they fucking fall to the ground and explode and die. But to auto rotate, you basically, once your engine loses power, the key is to level off, and then just stay leveled off. Try to reduce airspeed and but maybe keep moving a little bit so yeah, you don't just plummet to the ground. And that's basically how you'll just glide down and be totally fine. I'll do that right now. I'm gonna go about 20 or 30 kilometers an hour, maybe more, and then I'm gonna cut my engine. Right, so now let's say I just got hit by an RPG. What I want to do is stay leveled off. Use the artificial horizon, that blue and brown thing. Keep the red kind of like above the white line or on the white line. You can see my airspeed is dropping a lot. Right now it's about 50 kilometers an hour. It's diving a lot. So I'm going to try to maintain an airspeed though. Oh, never mind. Just realized that my engine turned on again by some reason. Alright, so now we're actually losing airspeed. A lot. And I'm trying to just stay leveled off. And I died, okay. Well, that's how you do it, but I don't know how I died. I think I just got fucked up when my engine fucked up. Let me do that again, actually. Okay. Yeah, I got distracted. I didn't know my engine was on still, so then I got fucked up after that. So we just go really high again, move at a decent, probably like 100 kilometers or less, maybe 80 kilometers an hour forward, and then I'll cut my engines, and then I'll just auto rotate down, and hopefully I don't die. It's still something I'm practicing even, so I have to basically, with flying helicopters, a lot of information about knowing specific speeds and altitudes and shit like that for doing stuff like this is very important. So knowing the speeds you can land at, and you know the direct, you know, whether you're going forward or backwards or landing sideways. Knowing when to descend at a certain altitude or whatever. So just little tidbits like that really help out a lot. Just gain altitude. I'm going to try to land on the runway while we'll auto-rotate onto the runway. I might have dived too hard. I think that's why I died. Just line myself up. And let's say I just get hit by an RPG or whatever, and then I lose engine. All I gotta do really is just stay leveled off. That's the main thing. You could use your rudder still if you still have your tail rotor. So I'm keeping the red lines on the artificial horizon on the white line or maybe a tiny bit above it. You want to maintain speed. If you lose all speed, I'm pretty sure you just fucking plummet to the ground and die. There you go. I think I'm uninjured too, so that's pretty much perfect. Yep, not even injured. Otherwise I'd get the little use health kit thing. So yeah, that's how you auto-rotate. That's how you kind of use your instruments. I didn't really get too much into it, so I could always just redo this video if you guys need me to explain stuff more specifically. And I'll go over the other helicopters too if you guys want also, because I know the Ghost Hawk is also different. All helicopters have different instruments and stuff, so Anyway, hopefully this was informative and interesting, and if you learned stuff, awesome. Let me know in the comments, and if not, then oh well. There's a bunch of other videos, maybe I'll link them in the description, that might be better examples. And yeah, so thanks for watching, and see you guys in the next video.